This morning I was supposed to go to an event, so I had my alarm set for 7:30 and I was so tired. I think it's because I take all those tranquilizing supplements, so I didn't get up. I slept until 10. I feel like my brain needs all the sleep it can get. And this morning I took a tyrosine for the first time in a week or so because I was feeling a little down, and I also took a methylfolate because that has brought me up a little bit before. And I don't know if that's necessary, but maybe it's not necessary to feel down if one can take a supplement that gives the brain the building blocks to be a bit more up. And it's especially because I'm going to be around other people today, and I don't want to have like a negative brain state that might be able to be remedied by a simple remedy, because that ripples outwards. So we'll see, because sometimes that affects sleep. And I also saw the magical forest again last night, and I was able to look at it a bit longer, and there was more of it as well, like more of the path, and I was able to look at it for more than just a glimpse. I was able to kind of like be there and then like look around for a second, and then it withdrew. And I was wondering if it has anything to do with sensory deprivation, because when it happened last night, I heard this humming noise, so I put on my earmuffs, those kind of big awkward ones, and I knew I wouldn't fall asleep with them on, but I at least wanted my brain to settle down with quiet. And then I was laying on my back and I saw the forest, and I was able to look, and so my hearing was deprived, and same with seeing. Like, there was no light in that room. It's complete darkness, and it made me think of like a float tank where it's dark and there's no sound and things like that. So, and how people experience altered states or are able to travel inwardly sometimes in float tanks. So it's something we're able to do. This is something that we're able to do, and it seems like my brain is beginning to be comfortable with being able to do that. I don't know if there's any benefit to it or what. It just seems to be something the brain is doing. Maybe it is harvesting or planting seeds of creating more space of that realm of golden light. I don't know. It's almost like it's creating it frame by frame, and each time it creates another frame of that, maybe it's more accessible, or maybe it's like harvesting gold. Maybe it's like, now I have 3 bricks of this inner gold from this golden forest. And maybe that is something that's more important than mining for Bitcoin or gold or cutting down all the trees or anything like that. Like, if the brain is able to do that, does that have any implication for daily life when one is awake? I thought of it kind of like harvesting Bitcoin, even though I don't really know anything about that. You need all these powerful computers to solve all these complex equations in order to harvest a Bitcoin. People are setting up all this massive structure to do that. Man, you just go to sleep in a dark room, sensory deprivation, give the brain the right nutrients, and you harvest a chunk of this magical forest that you're able to see. And what is it that sees when one's not seeing with one's outer eyes, but inner eye, the third eye? There is light in the brain, the pineal gland. It's making a lot of sense. And I think more brains that are able to harvest that will change this outer manifest world. So I got 3 bricks of inner gold, baby. And then the other interesting thing that I want to talk to about myself is that, with myself, I mean, not about myself, is the whole thing I learned from the book Dirty Genes, and I haven't read enough of it. I bought a few books on Kindle lately, and I don't have enough time to read them all. But I did get an interesting bit, which was the bit about how folic acid blocks methylation. It blocks methylfolate. Methylfolate is supposed to bind to things to increase methylation, which is an epigenetic thing for proper DNA expression. And the funny thing is, not funny, that the powers that be they have mandated adding folic acid to things like wheat and rice. Many things are fortified with it, and then this blocks methylation. So I like burritos with rice and the whole wheat tortilla, but I might switch from getting a burrito to maybe getting Freshie, which you can get a chard wrap, which is not the wheat, and you can also get quinoa, which I'd have to look into it to see if it's fortified with folic acid, because after my hospitalization 2 years ago, I started eating a lot of rice because it's cheap, but that could have been messing up methylation and epigenetic expression. So yeah, I'm gonna try and not eat the rice, even though yesterday I ate rice and in the burrito, so that could have blocked the methylation. So this could be an important factor that could be part of a diet designed for people with this kind of thing. We need our methylation to be working properly, and the crappy thing is that when we're living kind of in poverty, all we can afford is crappy grains and wheat, and those also make us feel better, but they're not good for the brain ultimately. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm gonna be off now to do a few things, and this morning I read about how Krishnamurti says meditation is finding a way of living that doesn't require the ego, in a way. And I was thinking, wow, it seems to me that my current living situation requires an ego, so I can't change those people, but I can change my living situation to have a different epigenetic matrix that doesn't create the arising of the ego. And I've been talking about the arising of the ego, and I thought about it in a different way today. It came to mind that if my experience arises as an ego, and then awareness comes in and realizes, wow, that was just an egoic moment, but not as judging it. I could judge it and say, oh, that shouldn't have happened, I shouldn't be that way, but that's again the ego, that's the self, which creates more self. Or one could see, wow, that was sort of arising as an ego in that moment, so it could be like a poison, like, okay, get away from things like that. Do less of that, and slowly make one's epigenetic matrix to only include that which one doesn't seem to feel the need to arise as an ego. So it can actually be a compass as opposed to something bad, and that's what my brain is doing lately. It's seeing all these things that might have been seen as bad and seeing them as a compass, or seeing them as there's this positive side to it. Not in terms of positive, but an intelligence. This morning it was raining, or intelligence was raining. And I haven't had that much calm breathing in the last week, but I did just have 3 minutes of calm breathing while talking to myself. So self-dialogue, I think I'm going to get back into it a bit more and start communing with the universe and saying what it shows me. I think that's kind of my role, and it's not really something that makes a lot of money, but it's like harvesting gold, possibly. Some days I've literally had no calm breathing, so self-dialogue is calmness. was just at the Emerging Proud event, and now I'm in a botanical garden. And I want to say hi to as many varieties of trees that I can. Oh my god, look at the feather that I just found. How awesome. Putting it in this notebook, just like Forrest Gump. Ooh. Nice to meet you, Mr. Redwood. Looks like you're green, too. Can't even see the top. I know nothing about trees. And this is a giant sequoia planted like 50 years ago, and these things live apparently for 3,500 years sometimes. So I'm touching this thing. This thing could live another 3,500 years. There's some sap. I think I'll put this behind my ear. Is that weird? This is the whole create your own shamanism thing. Giant sequoia sap, 3,500 years of energy, something that can live 3,500 years. That energy on one's body, what does that do to consciousness? Of course, I don't have an answer for that question. It almost smells a little bit like dill pickles. Imagine putting this on pulse points instead of stinky perfume. Oh, I know where I need some. Right here, the third eye. I could sit here for a really long time. There's a hummingbird. There, the sea is moving. Right at the top, well, not the very top, on the right hand side, on that short little branch, above or below the bushy tuft. It's a hummingbird. It's a bare branch, but there's a little bird sitting on it. You can always spot them. You can hear where they are.
Have a nice day.
You too. been realizing a few things lately, as usual. And one is something about not wasting energy. So there's something about creating with one's energy when one has energy, but then one can waste energy in subtle ways in interacting with people who cause a waste of energy, and that, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but so there's a certain movement when one has energy, one wants to create, but then that energy stops. And then when the energy stops, one can also negate that which wastes energy. And that might be really important as well. It might even be more important than trying to willfully, consciously create something with that energy when it comes in. It's hard to say, I don't know. And it might not be either or. It's just about looking out for energy wasters which would cause an apparent lowering in the level of consciousness that one manifests as. And it's challenging too, because I don't think there is a one, there's no individual. So I guess it would be something along the lines of toxic relationships. If one has, say, 100 good bits of a certain resonance, and then there's one that's way lower, that could really bring about a lowest common denominator and could derail things. I don't know how it works, but I'm wondering. And then the other thing I'm wondering about is how there's something about this taking supplements for experiencing certain states. So I could maybe say feel anxiety and then take taurine to level that out. And then I was thinking about how if I have a certain type of day ahead of me, I could take supplements to create a good unfolding of the day. So if I have a less than ideal situation, I probably want to take more tranquilizing supplements. Or maybe if I'm going to be around people, I should take tranquilizing supplements. Today I took tyrosine, which is speeding up, but maybe being around other people naturally speeds my brain up, so maybe it's a better strategy to try tranquilizing my brain. So tomorrow I have a social function, so I'm going to try tranquilizing my brain. I'm not going to take tyrosine or a few other things, and then maybe I'll take extra taurine, extra glycine, extra sunflower lecithin, and see what happens. I just want to be oblivious to the energies coming at me, not hypersensitive to them. So we'll see. I'm going to remember to do that. So today I probably could have taken tranks, because today so far I've had 82 minutes of tension, and now I've had days of 0 minutes of tension. So being around others, I've tended to speed myself up on those days so I can be more social and everything, but I think I'm going to try tranquilizing my brain to have calming energy, and perhaps that will resonate out to others to calm the whole energy down. I don't know. We'll see. It's like taking things preemptively as opposed to in a reaction. And I have sort of been doing that, but maybe the wrong way around, which I've repeated in different ways a number of times now. I'm going to hang out with the giant sequoias. I found it really helpful to connect my brain to the earth and my feet at the same time. And there's a bunch of giant sequoias around me. There's hummingbirds. Saw them. there's all the sequoias. Well, 4 of them. I've noticed along the lines of this not wasting energy thing, since I've stopped wasting energy, seemingly, at least temporarily, it looks like my face is changing again. Like, there's this area of my lip that it looks kind of raw, but it wants to like be out more, and then in that way it would be more like this than this part here. I can't do it right now because it's on demand, but that looks cool. Looks like the sun makes half my face disappear. Smells so good in here. Really? I met a lady in that flowery picture I took in that area, and we hung out for like 2 hours, and she talked most of the time, and she was quite a bit older than me, and she was single and had a lot of wisdom. And it's interesting because I put the sap of the sequoia tree behind my ears and on here, and then I met a woman who's like the version of me in 30 years, and she was happy and relatively healthy and did a lot of walking and showed me around the park in a way that I would have never been able to experience myself. And then we had a conversation, and she just gave me some advice, and interestingly enough, most of it was what I have already come to in my own mind in the last week or two, and she was sort of echoing to me exactly what I think I need to do. And that's what she did in her life, and it worked out for her because she's happy, and that's the most important thing. So that was really interesting. And also, it got to a point in the conversation where she was willing to offer me her place, sleeping on her couch, gave me her number, said call anytime up until 2 in the morning. And we had a nice connection. And that's the thing. I was just wandering by myself in this garden, and the universe sends friends. The universe sends resonant friends that one can connect with more in 2 hours than one can connect with others sometimes in years and years and years. And it's a resonant connection as opposed to like an energy wasting connection. And I was wearing this spire, and of the 2 hours, even though she was very firm in her views and opinions and things, and talking from that space, I was only tense for 5 minutes total in over 2 hours. And compare that with when I was at the Emerging Proud event, there was a period that I was tense for 21 minutes in a row, and I've never seen that. And then another period was where I was tense for 12 minutes in a row, and that was maybe other people talking as well. But like, I can talk to this woman who she was talking a lot and giving opinions, but I wasn't breathing tense, barely at all. And then the other thing, I was a lot. And she gave me advice like, get out of the helping field, go into something fun. Other advice related to other stuff that I won't get into. But it was quite interesting. And I won't give too many details because I don't want to be disrespectful of others' details, but it was pretty magical. And I remember the other night I had this dream, this is unrelated, that I was like walking along these ledges above like a store like Costco or something, and I was fine, and I'm like walking the ledges, and then all of a sudden at one point I just got afraid and like paralyzed, like I can't move, and I just wanted them to like rescue me. And I realized at that moment it might have looked like I wanted to jump, but I didn't want to jump. I wanted to be saved. And then when they came to rescue me with some kind of crane thing, I had to jump into like a full body straitjacket. How symbolic is all of that? And then when I was let down, I had to convince them that I'm fine, like I'm not crazy or like needing to go to the psych ward or anything. I just needed to be rescued to get down from that height. And I didn't need to jump into a straitjacket to do that. But it's like the automatic assumption that one needs some kind of intervention. So I'm going to go to sleep, and in the morning I'm going to take extra tranquilizing vitamins, and tomorrow's going to be a rough day. I'm going to maybe have to have a conversation that I don't really want to, but the lady gave me good advice. She said, don't even say where you're going and don't share details of your life. And I kind of feel like any details I share will be used against me, and I need to be my sparkly, shiny self. And another thing I could say is I am perfect just the way I am, to me. And there was another one I wanted to say, maybe I can only understand myself, which is saying like I'm not going to say anything to try to make anyone else understand me, because I can't. And that's one of my fears, is anything I say will be used against me, twisted. And that's the other thing this lady said. She said it's a no-win situation. And it is a no-win situation. And I need to protect my own brain, because it's the only brain I have. It's what I rely on. So, I don't know. We'll see. And that's the last thing. I don't want to win. I want to be myself. I want to stop adjusting to what I think others want me to be. I just want to be myself.